like, I don't know if they are capable of continuously, for a long timeline, if they're going to be able to hold off commercial traffic. I don't know what kind of response America has in the books for the Houthis as well. We're on Fox News again.
It's easy and tempting to laugh at the source, to look at Hasan Piker, to look at his wardrobe, to look at his fetishization of totalitarians, and simply dismiss Piker. But that would be a mistake. It would be a mistake specifically for Democrats.
No more to Trumpism, but no more to the Democrats who compromise, who conciliate, and who betray us. No more to the Democrats who will collaborate and cooperate with the fascists.
I'm not going to lie, I cooked on this.
Who will fund Israel, who will help poison the planet. We don't need those Democrats anymore. In fact, we have a message. We are coming.
Collaborate. It's not the kind of word you stumble upon. It's a very intentional, purposeful word. It's the type of word that's used by the secret police when they show up to the door of a professor to say you are collaborating with the wrong people.
What are you
it's a
saying?
warning to Democrats. But it's also, this entire concept of blue MAGA, something that we all, Democrats or Republicans, should listen to, because I think it's true. You see, for more than a decade now, the Democrat Party has radicalized its own base. They've been going after Donald Trump because they decided that he was illegitimate. They have called him a fascist. They called him a Nazi. And now they are discovering that they cannot control the rhetoric or the base that has responded to that rhetoric.
The Democratic Party is in the middle of a civil war, right? And you have moderate mainstream Democrats, such as myself, which have been challenged by the far left extremists.
You know what's beautiful about all of this? This makes Zohran Mamdani look like a fucking moderate, okay? Every damn day that they point to me and say I'm a fucking dangerous radical is a day where Zohran Mamdani is the appropriate moderate, which he is, okay? That's how this fucking works. That's how this shit works.
Tired of a set of people on the very far left in the Democratic Party.
And there will come a day when they will call me a moderate as well. There are those who find me to be too conciliatory to the Democratic Party. Okay? This is how we pulled the Overton window back to a place of decency, to a place of honesty, to a place where we forcibly center the needs of the working class in this goddamn country once and fucking for all. That's it.
Type of move.
By the way, out of all of these people that Will Kane is talking about, there's only been one Maoist. His name is Van Jones. Van Jones is the only one that he has shown thus far that actually was an unironic Maoist third worldist, by the way.
Pointed out the direction of the Democrat Party. He pointed out that in 2008, someone like him who would have described himself as center left was standing next to someone who would have described themselves on the left. But as the left continued through the years to run to the left, it wasn't the center that moved. In fact, it was the center that got pushed toward the right because progressives ran further and further. By 2021, that cartoon shows you a leftist far running off the screen yelling bigot at somebody on the center. If you updated that image to 2026, you would see a leftist run even further, knelt, crouch, laying down in a prone position with a rifle, pointing it back at the center and the right, yelling Nazi. You see, when it comes to progressivism, there is no destination. It's only acceleration. It's a movement defined by movement. It's always about more. And the Democrat Party gave this movement the only push it needed.
This year, this country could very well go the way of Germany in the 1930s.
Comparing the tactics of Donald Trump to Mussolini and Hitler is a very legitimate thing.
I don't care what Elon Musk is doing behind a presidential seal. In this country, we hate Nazis.
We have a Timu Hitler in the White House right now that thinks that he is going to become the dictator of
Don't
the
you
United
find
States.
it so funny that they're packaging this entire correct approach?
And those are mainstream Democrats.
Perhaps,
Those
regardless of our opinions on healthcare, regardless of our opinions on Israel, like there is a truth to the commentary from all Democrats and even people on my side that are more radical than the Democratic Party.
The establishment Democrats removed moderation from the equation, and in its place, they added a call to action.
You know, there needs to be unrest in the streets for as long as there's unrest in our lives.
I just don't even know why there aren't uprisings all over the country.
I want to tell you, Kavanaugh, you have released the whirlwind, and you will pay the price.
I don't swear in public very long, but we have to Trump.
If that's your starting point, how do you look up with surprise at the place you end up?
Left-wing terrorism always ends in bloodshed.
This is fascism,
misery,
by the way.
suffering.
This is straightforward
It only can travel
fascism.
in one direction.
And if liberals,
point at
self-identifying
which the
liberals,
left-wing
and if Democrats in key positions of power don't realize that this is the real threat, not someone like myself, not what I'm fucking wearing, okay? Listen to my words.
And now
This
today we listen
is
to
the real
establishment
threat.
Looking around and telling us this has gone too far, but this is of their own creation, even if it has left them behind. And now Democratic Socialists are ready to take the wheel. Baby Frankenstein is ready to now be in charge.
The responsibility that we have as Americans, the recognition that is going to be required of us, of the exploitative and extractive nature that we play on the global
Fox
scale,
updated
on the
it.
global stage, is only going to be challenged if we are getting represented by people who understand that on a fundamental level, right? And that means getting more immigrants into office. That means getting more people who have heritage in the global South into office. Because
Oh, God.
Make America
Terrifying.
the third world again. So what now? Where do we go from here? Well, historically, when Democrats don't like where their voters go, they don't try to persuade them. They overrule them. Let's look at the history. They kneecapped Bernie Sanders in favor of Hillary Clinton. 2 years ago today, they swapped out Joe Biden for Kamala Harris. They dropped Graham Plattner for someone yet to be chosen by party insiders. That is blue MAGA. That is the machine that tells its own people, we know what's best for you. Now, Democrats are finding out the hard way. This is what you get. You get the platform of the Democratic Socialist of America, and your only response to stopping defunding the Department of War or replacing the president and the Supreme Court is to anti-democratically undercut the voice of your very own people. You can't all of a sudden ask everyone to calm down after years of calling your opponents fascists. Eventually, you'll have to watch your own back.
Okay, here's a really good
You might be a
idea.
collaborator. Joining me now is former Pennsylvania Democrat Congressman.
Here's a really good idea. How about not being a fucking fascist to the Republicans? And how about not being a collaborator to the fascists for the goddamn Democrats who do?
Patrick.
Hey, I'm an American patriot, Will, and I appreciate that. Hey, listen, I will say this. I know there's a lot of folks that want to talk about, let's blame, who's to blame in the Democratic Party, et cetera, right? Like you, I'm a leader, right? Blame says who's at fault. Let's talk about responsibility. Responsibility is what can we do about it? I blame both parties, Will, literally both parties, because they've ignored the affordability crisis that's going around and happening to everyday American families. Neither party is addressing it. Neither party. And that's why, you know, I don't agree with the things that were said there, you know.
Well, okay. But I disagree with what you just said. So let's pick up on where I disagree.
Okay, sure.
First, let's start where we do agree. Yeah, affordability is a real issue in America. We've dealt with for years, especially under the Biden administration, hyperinflation. We had inflation up to 9%. Even today, gas prices are not where the American people want them, and things are unaffordable, including housing. However, I do not believe this leftward lurch in your party is in any way due to affordability. If I were to believe that, I would expect to see the working class of America voting for Democratic Socialist candidates. But instead, what I see is rich college kids, highly educated, largely white, urban professionals in places like New York voting for these radical policies, which says to me this is less about affordability and this is more about the Democrat Party having radicalized a good percentage of its base into believing that everyone, and by the way, when it comes to everyone, Patrick, basically they would not distinguish between you and me. They would call you blue MAGA. They would call you a collaborator, and they'd call us both enemies.
Well, and that's why, I love America. And just like my brothers through veterans, 52% who are independents. But Will, you had on Governor Cuomo. He ran for mayor. He lost. Do you know why he lost in deep blue New York? He lost because he didn't talk about affordability. The current mayor did. And that's the reality. If you ignore the will of the American people, whether you're Democrat or Republican, they are going to vote you out of office. And it's not about being a Democratic socialist. It's about, are you representing the pain points and representing a future that is for all Americans, not just the wealthiest or not just the poorest among us.
Yet that is not what you hear from Democratic Socialists. You can definitely play the role of the PRI in Mexico and hand out groceries in the line for the voting booth. And in some ways, that's what this is reduced to. Because you talk about affordability, but their answer to that, Patrick, is have no bills, have no debt, have no job. So they live in a never-never land of the economy. And so we're dealing with something much more radical than affordability. We're dealing with something that threatens to upend America. And I can play, and I have played, and you've heard those clips. And I know that many like you think that is a small fraction of your party, but there is no doubt that's the heat of your party. That's the energy.
Look.
But Will, I would say when you look at, there's 600,000 elected positions in America. There's only 250 elected Democratic Socialists, right? So the chart you showed earlier, if there's all those folks and you're saying head are lurching to the left, the reality of it is that the majority of Democrats, just like the majority of Americans, are at the center. They might be a little center left, they might be a little center right, but they're not Democratic Socialists. They're not. Capitalism in America is more popular than socialism. And that's why I do think that when you have practical, pragmatic candidates, whether Democrat, Republican, or independent, that's who's going to win. And by the way, the fastest growing party in America isn't Democrat or Republican. It's independents. That's what decides these federal elections.
Yeah, all these policies are unbelievably popular, buddy.
Not because of Democratic Socialists, but because of independents who are going to say, I'm voting to folks who basically care about the prices in the supermarket, not talking about values in a ballot box.
Okay. Let's hope that is true. I hope that your diagnosis as well of your party is accurate as well, that most of your party still remains center-left. And if that's true, let's implore those in your party who are centrist to stop talking like everything is an existential threat.
If you are dumb enough or cynical enough to lean into these Republican bastardizations, as many on the Twitter side of the commentariat are, you're a fucking idiot. You're a rube, you're a sucker, you're not going to make it, okay? Because what they are doing to me, what liberals are doing to me, Republicans do to them. And Will King gives the game away when he draws a direct through line between Chuck Schumer's sentiment and mine. Because there is a point of agreement. Whether Chuck Schumer believes it or not doesn't matter. He understands that the base wants him to say certain things like Trump is a fascist, because he is. Okay? So, as long as liberals keep punching left, foolishly keep punching left and legitimizing the right-wing reactionary position, they will lose. Okay? It's that simple. It's that simple. And I urge self-identifying liberal voters not to fall for this bullshit. Okay? Do not fall for this bullshit. It's that simple. And I think, unfortunately, many liberals are either cynically leaning into this because they think this will take care of their left flank so they don't have to actually run in the primaries, and they can just like get the federal government to take care of their left flank problem. But at a time when it's very clear that the federal government is trying to actively terror jacket the entire left movement, the Democratic Socialists of America, PSL, and onward, if liberal Democrats in key positions of power don't recognize that this will inevitably harm them as well, put them in harm's way as well, okay, they are going to have a very tough time. It's time to nut up or shut up. We're here. We're here. Fascism is here. Yeah, Justice Department activates untested court for alien terrorist deportations. First, they will go after the non-citizens, undocumented and documented. Then they will inevitably move on to citizens. Yeah, I know it's really funny. I saw this. Stevens has gotten so much mileage out of the story on this woman doing fundraisers for her opponents, especially considering that the same woman did a fundraiser for Stevens 3 months after the post in question. Yeah, I saw this last night. This was the co-chair. This was the co-chair of the Mallory McMorrow campaign. The woman, the Michigan Dem who praised grandfather's Nazi military service hosting fundraiser for Abdul al-Sayed. She was a co-chair for Mallory McMorrow's Senate run. Okay? And what's interesting about it is she's obviously a big fundraiser in the state because she also had fundraised for Haley Stevens. So this is a hilarious story. Stevens has gotten so much mileage out of the story on this woman doing fundraisers for her opponents, especially considering that the same woman did a fundraiser for Stevens 3 months after the post in question. It's such a funny story. All she needed to do was not post about her Nazi grandfather, and yet that and the fact that she's apparently done fundraisers for basically anyone who's ever run for office as a Democrat in Michigan. Yes, she seems like a normal, well-meaning liberal who just posted family history she should have buried. It is a hilarious story. I could not believe it when I first encountered it. This lady literally was like, this Veterans Day, I want to give a shout out to my grandfather who is a veteran of World War II, just not on the right side. Okay? It's a hilarious story. But what's crazy about it is that Haley Stevens is trying to weaponize the story against Abdul right now. Meanwhile, she fucking fundraised for Haley Stevens. What are we doing? Hasan, why do we not push FDR as a role model for socialist programs? Why don't we lean into what worked in the past? It's like we don't want to embrace or recall this period in history. Great question. Here's the answer. FDR would not have done any of those reforms if it wasn't for the communists pushing him to get to those reforms. But yes, these guys think FDR is a communist too. They just are too embarrassed to openly say that out loud, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, for the record, Emily's List polled Michigan but chose not to poll the Senate election despite endorsing Stevens. Oh, they most certainly polled el-Sayed and Stevens, and the decision not to release the results suggests a bad result for Stevens. Yes, it is a complete media blackout on internal polls coming from the Haley Stevens side. And there is a reason for it. Okay? Especially now that Abdul is releasing internal polls that show him up 10 points over Haley Stevens. Obviously, the counter from the Haley Stevens camp is to release their internal numbers. But it's very clear that their internal numbers are showing something devastating. This also corresponds to what Haley Stevens has been doing in terms of attacking Abdul over and over again. This close to the race, you're supposed to actually lock in on your supporters. You're supposed to try to show your policies and try to make an argument of a vision in the affirmative. The fact that they're not doing that and the fact that they are aggressively posturing against Abdul al-Sayed, trying to slander him extra hard and potentially even putting themselves in a weaker position overall, even if they were to win the primary, right? Implies that they recognize that they're cooked. Meanwhile, she hasn't done a single fucking town hall. She is doing a horrible job at campaigning. It's all just attack ad after attack ad after attack ad. Now, the problem with attack ads like this is that they depress turnout. They don't actually increase turnout for your side. It has the capacity to potentially depress turnout for your opponent. Okay? This is not how you win elections if you're down 10 points. You have to also have a vision in the affirmative. And none of, I'm so tired of these losers. Yeah, Parker Get a Job said that too. It's fine. Guys, it's okay. Okay? Yes, optics. Parker Get a Job is very frustrated with the optics. He's saying I'm making the DSA look bad. I'm making the socialist movement look bad. I'm making the Democrats look bad because I wore a Zhongshan suit that I got in China. The answer that I have to that is just let me fucking cook. Okay? It doesn't matter. You have, it costs $0 for you to not lean into reactionary manufactured outrage. Okay? That's it. That's it. We have to have some messaging discipline. These optics arguments are just a distilled version of what you say every day, is it not? Yes. There is also an optics argument that is valid, and then there's an optics argument that is invalid. If you're actually leaning in to the idea that me wearing a Chinese suit is actually the same as like being Adolf Hitler, then you're a little stupid. Okay? I'm sorry. It's unbelievably stupid. Why are you ceding the framing on this issue to oppositional figures? David Pacman lost his mind on this too. 54 minutes? Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ. I mean, who cares? Whatever. After October 7th, I'm going to let Hasan cook since he handles his ops easy. Why don't you meet people where they are? I do meet people where they are. I care about what people care about. I care about the actual impact, the actual policies. I am a firm and committed believer that wearing a fucking Nehru-style suit or wearing a Chinese suit is nowhere near as consequential as the actual things that I'm talking about. And most people, I think, there are definitely a lot of people who will hear the criticisms, who will hear the cries and go, you know what, that makes sense. I think this guy does love Mao Zedong. I think this guy does love China. It's scary or whatever. Okay. Hasan is unironically an actual legit SJW, says Sosha Butt. Yes. I think the suit scandal unironically worked because wearing the suit caused Fox News to constantly play the commentary. I'm fine with that. Perhaps they still would have ran the College Democrats of America speech, regardless of what kind of suit I was wearing, but I don't give a shit. If that gets in front of eyeballs, if that actually gets people, if that gets people to actually hear what I have to say, a much larger audience to hear what I have to say, I'm happy with that. Who gives a fuck? I just want to say that the gray suit makes it so that people may not take you seriously enough. And by people, I mean normal voters. Yeah, well, it's a good thing that I'm not running for office, isn't it? I'm a content creator. Okay? I'm a content creator. No, you should listen to them, capitulate to not wearing, and also while you're at it, listen to the centrists and capitulate on all your socialist values, because caring about what scares centrists is how we'll create a more progressive society funded by Third Way. Yeah. At a time when the State Department is actively talking about arresting people like myself, liberals' hyper-focus has been to give them credence, to give those fears credence. At a time when the State Department is talking about establishing Red Scare propaganda and McCarthy trials once again against their left flank that ranges all the way from someone like myself to PSL and DSA and even Karen fucking Bass, liberals hyper-focusing on what kind of suit I've chosen to wear at the College Democrats of America gives the fucking game away. They don't give a shit. While one of the New York Times' big Middle Eastern correspondents has published a long essay about how Blinken and Sullivan aren't so sure about Netanyahu any longer, Ken Klippenstein reports Marco Rubio's State Department is preparing blacklists. Yeah. Okay, but it would actually be hilarious if you issued a formal apology to everyone saying, I'm sorry if my suit offended you. It's not my fault. You don't appreciate fashion. Yeah. While the State Department is talking about pre-crime for far-left terrorists, Democrats are literally leaning into this hysteria because they're too fearful of losing their goddamn primaries. Okay? They're so scared of losing their primaries. They're so scared of facing their voters that they are leaning into this madness.
In the United States counterterrorism strategy, we currently are addressing three major types of terror groups: narco-terrorists, Islamic or jihadi terrorists, and far-left terrorists. For all three, we need to identify terror actors.
Yeah. One of the things that's really funny that this chatter also pointed to is like, dog, they say, I love 9/11. You think a fucking Chinese suit that most normies don't even know about is going to push them over the edge? Are you fucking crazy? People don't even give a fuck about the 9/11 shit.
And plots before they happen.
Yeah. Very cool that the State Department's talking about blacklists and pre-crime. And McCarthy trials. And re-implementing the McCarthy trials while liberals on this website have joined hands with Ted Cruz and the entire GOP. About a Chinese suit. You're gonna be in the camps next to me, dumbass. Blacklist. Very cool. The State Department's talking about blacklist pre-crime and re-implementing the McCarthy trials. While liberals on this website have joined hands with Ted Cruz and the entire GOP to freak the fuck out. To freak out about a Chinese suit. More. They're putting all of us in the camps. Dumb asses. Replace ass with Jew. Not so funny now, huh? You know you're speaking to the wind, right? I mean, maybe some people will see this and will recognize that it's silly. No, I said Ted Cruz on purpose because Ted Cruz was complaining about Mao Zedong too. Trump official asked how they're targeting Antifa as a foreign terrorist organization, given it's unclear what Antifa even is. Basically, a foreign terrorist organization, we have three components. It has to be foreign, it has to be terrorist, it has to be an organization.
Doesn't really exist. And you just named Antifa asked. I was wondering, is it that a different group, or what is the intelligence that the U.S. has that Antifa does exist?
Yeah, well, we have those designations. They're designations on the basis of our statutes, on the basis of violent acts that members of those groups committed. By the way, I think they're all also designated as terrorist groups by countries in Europe. And so the other thing about this is, I mean, basically a foreign terrorist organization, we have to have these three components. It has to be foreign, it has to be terrorist, it has to be an organization. And all four of these groups met that test. And we see this as something that will keep America safe and secure. And we're looking at actively at more designations.
What I know about.
Have you no decency, sir? Why McCarthyism fell out of favor? PBS 5-minute clip explanation.
Those who never watch TV during the day were glued to watching the Army of McCarthy hearings.
The television moment of the Army of McCarthy hearings that is lived in memory ever since is the famous moment on June 9th, 1954, when McCarthy decides to violate an agreement that Cohn and Welch should come to before the hearings.
Roy Cohn, although of
Roy Cohn,
draft
Trump's guy,
age, had managed to avoid the Korean War and the draft afterwards. It was kind of astonishing. Joe Welch said, fine, I will never bring up your draft status, but we have a problem of our own. We have a young attorney named Fred Fisher, who was a member of a Communist Front group while he was at Harvard Law School. And we brought him down to work on the committee. We decided that because of his past, we would send him home. And I would appreciate it if you would never bring up Fred Fisher.
Throughout most of that afternoon, Roy Cohn and Joseph Welch had been having, your basic nasty lawyerly argument. And Cohn's okay with it.
Mr. Welch, sir, with great respect, I work for the committee here. They know how we go about handling situations of communist infiltration and failure to act on FBI information about communist infiltration.
And may I add my small voice, sir, and say whenever you know about a subversive or a communist or a spy, please hurry. Will you remember those words?
But McCarthy gets so angry at Welch's badgering of Roy Cohn that he blurts out the name of Fred Fisher.
In view of Mr. Welch's request, I think we should tell him that he has in his law firm a young man named Fisher, who has been for a number of years a member of an organization which was named, years and years ago, as the legal bulwark of the Communist Party. And I have hesitated bringing that up, but I have been rather bored with your phony request to Mr. Cohen here.
Little did I dream you could be so reckless and so cruel as to do an injury to that lad. It is true he is still with Hale and Dorr. It is true that he will continue to be with Hale and Dorr. It is, I regret to say, equally true that I fear he shall always bear a scar needlessly inflicted by you.
You'll look at Roy Cohn's face and you will see him go, oh my God, no, please no. But McCarthy won't stop. He keeps attacking.
I want to say, Mr. Welch, that it has been labeled long before he became a member, as early as 1944.
Senator, may we not drop this? I did you, I think, no personal injury, Mr. Cole.
No, sir.
And if I did, I beg your pardon. Let us not assassinate this lad further, Senator. You've done enough. Have you no sense of decency, sir? At long last, have you left no sense of decency?
You could see Joe McCarthy go.
The answer is yes, by the way. He does not have any sense of decency. He does not have, he has no decency. He has none. Giant piece of shit. Yeah, if we're doing House Un-American Activity stuff, this is the definitive video. Paul Robeson.
Now a member of the Communist Party?
Oh, please, please, please.
Please answer, will you, Mr. Robeson?
What is the Communist Party? What do you mean by that?
Are you now a member of the Communist Party?
Would you like to come to the ballot box when I vote and take out the ballot and see?
Mr. Chairman, I respectfully suggest the witness be directed to answer the question.
You are directed to answer the question.
I invoke the Fifth Amendment and forget it.
I respectfully suggest the witness be directed to answer the question whether, if he gave us a truthful answer, he would be supplying information which might be used against him in a criminal proceeding.
You are directed to answer, Mr. Robeson.
In the first place, wherever I have been in the world, the first to die in the struggle against fascism were the communists. I laid many wreaths.
By the way, James Earl Jones is so fucking based, dude. Respect to my goat. This is dramatized by him, right? It's like recreated by James Earl Jones, right? He's doing the voice. He does the Frederick Douglass. He does the what to a slave is the 4th of July as well. Shout out to Democracy Now!
Upon the graves of communists. That is not criminal. Chief Justice Warren has been very clear that the Fifth Amendment does not have anything to do with the influence of criminality, and I invoke the Fifth Amendment.
Have you ever been known under the name of John Thomas?
Oh, please, does somebody here want me to put up a perjury someplace? John Thomas, my name is Paul Robeson, and anything I have to say, I have said in public all over the world, and that is why I'm here today.
Mr. Chairman, I ask that you direct the witness to answer the question. He's making a speech. I ask you to affirm or deny the fact that your Communist Party name was John Thomas.
I invoke the Fifth Amendment. This is really ridiculous.
The witness talks very loud when he makes a speech, but when he invokes the Fifth Amendment, I can't hear him.
I have medals for diction. I can talk plenty loud.
Will you talk a little louder?
I invoke the Fifth Amendment loudly.
Sir, who are Mr. and Mrs. Vladimir
I
Nikiev?
invoke the Fifth Amendment.
Do you know a Manning Johnson?
I invoke the Fifth Amendment.
Do you know Gregory Kifetz?
I invoke the Fifth Amendment.
Do you know a Max Jurgen?
I invoke the Fifth Amendment.
Max Jurgen.
Why don't you have these people here to be cross-examined? Could I ask whether this is legal?
This is not only legal, but usual. By unanimous vote, this committee has been instructed to perform this very distasteful task.
To whom am I talking?
You're speaking to the chairman of the committee.
Mr. Walter?
Yes.
The Pennsylvania Walter?
That is right.
Representative of the steel workers?
That is right.
And the coal mining workers?
That is right.
Not United States Steel by any chance. A great patriot.
That is right.
You are the author of the bills that are going to keep all kinds of decent people out of the country.
No, only your kind.
Colored people like myself. And you would let in the Teutonic Anglo-Saxon stock.
We are trying to make it easier to get rid of your kind, too.
You don't want any colored people to come in. Could I be allowed to read from my statement?
Will you just tell this committee, please, while under oath, Mr. Robeson, the communists who participated in the preparation of that statement?
Oh, please. The reason I'm here today, from the mouth of the State Department itself, is I should not be allowed to travel because I have struggled for the independence of the colonial peoples of Africa. The other reason I'm here today, again, from the State Department and from the record of the Court of Appeals, is that when I am abroad, I speak out against injustices against the Negro people in this land. That is why I'm here. I'm not being tried for whether I'm a communist. I'm being tried for fighting for the rights of my people. who are still second-class citizens in this country, in this United States of America. My mother was born in your state, and my mother was a Quaker. And my ancestors, in the time of Washington, baked bread for George Washington's troops when they crossed the Delaware. My father was a slave. I stand here struggling for the rights of my people to be full citizens in this country. And they are not. They are not in Mississippi. They are not in Montgomery, Alabama. They are not in Washington. They are nowhere. And that is why I am here today. You want to shut up every Negro who has the courage to stand up and fight for the rights of his people, for the rights of workers. And I have been on many a picket line for the steel workers too. And that is why I'm here today.
Would you tell us whether or not you know Thomas W. Young?
I invoke the Fifth Amendment.
Thomas W. Young is a Negro president of the Guide Publishing Company. I'd like to read you his testimony, quote, Paul Robeson has no moral right to place in jeopardy the welfare of the American Negro to advance a foreign cause. In the eyes of the Negro...
Classic technique. Subvert, infiltrate, grab someone who's a loyalist. If they're not a loyalist, turn them into one by threatening them, have them admonish, have them attack. Oh, your allies are attacking you. What do you say for yourself? Your allies are the ones who are calling you out. These tactics have been deployed in the past quite successfully, and they are being deployed once again. This is why whenever I hear people go, well, I don't know, should you have worn that suit? I'm like, who gives a fuck? The goddamn federal government, the State Department is once again trying to redo this exact same thing because they're fucking terrified. They're terrified of democracy. That's what they're terrified of at the end of the day. They're terrified of your voices being heard. Yes, he went to Rutgers, Paul Robeson did. Yeah. It's not about the fucking suit. Wake the fuck up.
People, this false prophet is unfaithful to their country and they repudiate him, close quote. Do you know the man that said that?
I invoke the Fifth Amendment now. Can I read my statement? It is a sad and bitter comment.
While you were in Paris in 1949, Mr. Robeson, did you tell an audience the American Negro would never go to war against the Soviet government?
May I say that is slightly out of context? May I explain to you what I did say? I remember the speech very well. 2,000 students who came from populations that would range to 600 or 700 million.
Yeah, dog, they invented, I feel like the House Un-American Activity Committee invented clip chimping, okay? They were the ones who invented it. They were doing clips out of context even back then. Oh my God.
Million people asked me to say in their name that they did not want war. No part of my speech in Paris says 15 million American Negroes would do anything.
Dude, for the people who are looking at the Fox News Facebook account getting roasted to death over a suit post in real time, can you send me screenshots? I want to see. I would love to see the Facebook normies cooking Fox News at my behest. I never thought I would see the day.
I said it was my feeling that the American people would struggle for peace, and that has been since underscored by the President of these United States. Now, in passing, I said...
Do you know any people who want war?
Listen to me. I said it was unthinkable to me that any people could take up arms in the name of a man like Senator Eastland of Mississippi against anybody. Gentlemen, I still say that. This United States government should go to Mississippi and protect my people. That is what it should do.
I lay before you, sir, an article, quote, I am looking for full freedom, unquote, by Paul Robeson in The Worker. July 3rd, 1949, quote, I said it was unthinkable that the Negro people of America or elsewhere could be drawn into war with the Soviet Union. I repeat it with 100-fold emphasis, they will not, close quote.
And, gentlemen, they have not. It is clear that no Americans are going to go to war with the Soviet Union.
While you were in Stockholm, did you make a little speech?
I made all kinds of speeches.
Let me read you a quotation.
Let me listen.
Do so, please.
I am a lawyer.
It would be a revelation if you would listen to counsel.
In good company, I usually listen. But you know, people wander around in such fancy places.
You said, Mr. Robson, and I quote, I belong to the American resistance movement, which fights against American imperialism, just as the resistance movement fought against Hitler.
Just like Frederick Douglass and Harriet Tubman were underground railroaders and fighting for our freedom, you bet your life.
I have to insist that you listen to these questions.
I am listening.
I quote further, why should the Negroes ever fight against the only nation in the world where racial discrimination is prohibited and where the people can...
Is this the new tan suit? Well, if you can't argue his politics, attack his fashion, I guess. The fact that he purposely did this with the intention of triggering the right, the fact that they're falling for it so well is just classic. Is this the same thing as Obama's tan suit? First tan suit, now this, snowflakes. Ah, yes, Fox, the Fashion Police Network. Is it a tan suit? It's just a jacket. Isn't that the dog shocker guy? Oh my God, well, at least it wasn't tan, thank the Lord. The joke writes itself. Fashion Police. Y'all are the type to complain about a tan suit too. Is it a tan suit? Remember the Obama tan suit thing? He's winning. That's not Mao-style suit. That's the Sun Yat-sen suit. Dr. Sun Yat-sen is the founding father who started the revolution. He's the founding father of the ROC and also considered the founding father of the PRC. Hasan is a badass. I'm really hoping this beginning of the new American era of politics where politicians actually care about the citizens instead of just trying to fatten their wallets. The fit is fire. He should have worn a suit. Tan suit. It's the season, you know. Is it worse than the tan suit? He's trolling you guys, Lamau. It's called fashion sweaty. So for Parker, get a job, and all the fucking dumbass liberals that are freaking the fuck out over what my sartorial choices are, who refuse to hear what I'm actually saying in the speech. Ask yourself why normie liberals on fucking Facebook, understand the assignment in ways that you simply cannot comprehend. Perhaps you are too polarized against your left flank in ways that normie liberals simply are not. They know exactly what's going on. This is also the reason why. I decided to be more hands-on with elections taking place in this midterm season. Okay? In this midterm cycle. Because normies are fucking fed up with anything and everything that is associated with the right. And a lot of these liberals don't understand that when they also channel the right-wing frustrations, when they repeat right-wing nonsense, right-wing propaganda against their fucking left flank, when they do that, they also look like assholes to most normies. Do you understand? The normie liberals they're done with this shit. They don't give a fuck. They're like, oh, I remember when you guys did this to Obama. Fox News, y'all back when you're speaking about attire. Imagine the crash out if it was tan too. Actually, he's giving them advice on how to win. This is who the left thought Charlie Kirk was. I wouldn't be surprised to learn that Hasan Piker is really a comedian doing some Andy Kaufman style bit. He looks good as fucking it, though. You guys are desperate. It's hilarious. Large political coalitions almost always contain influential figures who are outside of formal party leadership. Those figures can shape activists and primary voters, even if many elected officials disagree with parts of their message. Many mainstream Democratic officials have criticized or distanced themselves from him, while some progressive candidates and activists have chosen to work with him because of his influence among younger voters. Republicans did the same thing with Carlson Tucker, Nick Fuentes, and Steve Bannon. It's a suit. Whining about his suit. What his suit looks like. Lamau. Here's what matters at the end of the day. Does it look good? Okay. The answer is yes. The answer is fucking yes. Singapore import-export. I am personally not a big fan of the suit. Maybe you are the one polarized against expanding import-export operations. Hi, I am a part of a very serious shipping conglomerate targeting Singaporean operations. Could you please confirm that this stream is a safe space to share details? If not, we might rescind our invitation. Of course, it's the safest place. for import-export, specifically in the beautiful city-state of Singapore, because it wasn't imported from Singapore. True. True.
And live freely. Never. They will never fight against either the Soviet Union or the people's democracies, close quote. Did you make that statement?
I do not remember, but what is perfectly clear today is that 900 million people, other colored people, have told you they will not. 400 million in India and millions everywhere have told you
The witness has answered the question. He doesn't need to make a speech.
Did you write an article that was published in the USSR Information Bulletin?
Yes.
Quote, I want to emphasize that only here in the Soviet Union did I feel that I was a real man with a capital M, close quote.
I would say, what is your name?
Arendt.
I am quite willing to answer the question. When I was a singer years ago, and this you will have to listen to.
I am listening.
I am a bass singer, so for me, it was Chelyabin, the great Russian bass, not Caruso the tenor. I learned the Russian language to sing their songs. I wish you would listen now.
Mr. Chairman, I ask you to direct the witness to answer the question.
Just be fair with me.
I ask for order.
The great poet of Russia is of African blood.
Let us not go so
It is
far
important to
afield.
explain this.
Did you make that statement?
When I first went to Russia in 1934...
Did you make that
When I
statement?
first went to Russia in
Did you
1934...
make that statement?
In Russia, I felt for the first time like a full human being. No color prejudice like in Mississippi. No color prejudice like in Washington. It was the first time I felt like a human being.
It's a huge
I did not
bars.
feel the pressure of color as I feel it in this committee today.
Why do you not stay in Russia?
Because my father was a slave, and my people died to build this country. And I'm going to stay here and have a part of it just like you, and no fascist-minded people will drive me from it. Is that clear?
You are here because you are promoting the communist cause.
I am here because I'm opposing the neo-fascist cause, which I see arising in these committees. Jefferson could be sitting here, and Frederick Douglass could be sitting here. Eugene Debs could be sitting here.
Now, what prejudice are you talking about? You were graduated from Rutgers. You were graduated from the University of Pennsylvania. I remember seeing you play football at Lehigh. There was no prejudice against you.
Just a moment. This is something I challenge very deeply, that the success of a few Negroes can make up for $700 a year for thousands of Negro families in the South. My father was a slave, and I have cousins who are sharecroppers. I do not see success in terms of myself. I have sacrificed hundreds of thousands of dollars for what I believe in.
While you were in Moscow, Mr. Robeson, did you make a speech lauding Stalin?
I can't remember.
So I suspect we're going to have another House on-American Activities Committee. And this time, instead of Moscow, the question will be Havana.
Have you recently changed your mind?
Because this is what they're trying to redo. Okay? This is what they are trying to redo. I guess another Rutgers graduate might be in the fucking crosshairs of the State Department once again. Another Rutgers graduate with anti-imperialist ideals is in the crosshairs of the State Department. No, of course, the main try to be half as base. I will never. I would never. I am not fit to be. I am not fit to be the fucking. I don't have enough revolutionary in my entire body that Paul Robeson had in his pinky finger. Okay. My point is, the situation has deteriorated in America. The conditions are worse. Even the senators, even the politicians that are sitting on the House On-American Activities Committee are far more literate than their current versions are. Okay.
Stalin, gentlemen, is a question for the Soviet Union, and I won't argue with a representative of the people who, in building America, wasted the lives of my people. You are responsible, you and your forebears, for 60 to 100 million black people dying in the slave ships and on the plantations. Don't you ask me about anybody.
I'm sure you wouldn't want to discuss with us the slave labor camps in the
Nothing
Soviet
could be built
Union.
more on slavery than this society, I assure you.
I would invite your attention to the Daily Worker of June 29, 1949, with reference to a get-together with you and Ben Davis, formerly communist councilman in New York. Do you know Ben
One
Davis?
of my dearest friends. He is as patriotic an American as can be, and you, gentlemen, are the non-patriots.
Just a minute.
You are the un-American.
The hearing is now adjourned.
I think it should be.
I've been doing all of this that I can.
Can I read my statement?
No! The meeting is adjourned.
It should be.
The goat. The goat himself. Why it worked last time, why it was allowed to happen, was because capital in America was on the upswing. Now, how will they sell a house on American activities when conditions have deteriorated so much? Well, there's also no real threat that Americans can feel, because the USSR and the United States of America were not interlinked by way of trade in the way that we are with China. The USSR was not responsible for 30% of all trade in the United States of America. You cannot turn Havana and Cuba into the USSR in the minds of Americans. The more they talk about Cuba and the threat of Cuba, the more they try to push for military action against Cuba, the more the average American will say, why are we wasting our resources this way? Maybe even more Americans will think, why are we starving the Cuban population this way? That's it. There is no imminent threat from our foreign adversaries that's out there. Even the ones who we are waging war against right now, direct war, Iran. Most Americans don't like Iran, but also a far greater percentage of Americans don't want to wage war with Iran. Okay? They don't have the same smoke. That's it. And if this continues, more Americans will have a far higher degree of negative feelings towards Israel than they do any foreign adversary. Cultural depictions of the Red Scare have always been ahistorical. What is this? This is from the DC Examiner. America needs a new Red Scare. Cultural depictions of the Red Scare have always been ahistorical. Take its most famous moment. State Department lawyer Joseph Welch confronting Joe McCarthy with, have you no sense of decency? What popular depictions always leave out is that communists had infiltrated the State Department as well as many of our other institutions. Yeah, I mean, this is the DC Examiner demanding a new Red Scare and presenting me as like the guy, presenting me as the primary reason for why we must have it. Meanwhile, liberals, by and large, that are at the center of power in the Democratic Party, the oppositional force in this fucking country, are leaning into it as well. Candidates who associated with Hassan continue to win. Yeah, this is Parker, get a job. Hassan, genuine question. How is it beneficial to any good movement for you to wear a Mao outfit? This just seems like rage bait for clicks. Do you realize that looks bad for DSA candidates because they associated with you? Do you want to make it harder or easier for them? Candidates who associated with Hassan continue to win because of what they're fighting for. Hassan has been wearing the Zhongshan suit for over a year. You are only hearing about it now due to manufactured outrage from Republicans and centrist Democrats who are now panicking. No one actually cares about this. Exactly.